Good morning. It is actually a really nice day in Edinburgh. It's not too hot yet. We're sort of splitting off this morning. Jeff and Krista are going to go do the walking tour of Edinburgh, and me and Rebekah are going to do the writer's tour because we like reading and, you know.
Henley was a poet, but he was also a literary editor, so he knew everybody. But he had this complaint called tubercular arthritis, and a few years before coming to this hospital, he had a leg amputated because of this complaint. And he came here to have his other leg saved, hopefully saved, by the great surgeon Joseph Lister. You've heard of Joseph Lister? If you haven't heard of Joseph Lister, probably heard of the mouthwash Listerine. It's named after Joseph Lister. Joseph Lister was the father of antiseptic surgery. You could have a successful operation before Joseph Lister, but you would probably die from the infection. Lister changed all that. He worked on Pasteur's germs. He was washing wounds with carbolic acid. In here, he would fill his entire operating theatre with carbolic steam. He had this generator thing. So it was killing everything in the air. People were staying alive after Lister's operations. When Lister saved Henley's leg, he probably saved his life. But so painful and prolonged was the treatment for Henley. He was actually in hospital here for 2 years. But he was a literary editor, knew everybody. And he was big pals in Edinburgh then with Robert Louis Stevenson. In those days, Robert Louis lived in the New Town. You know, Edinburgh's got an old town and a new town. And the New Town's quite far from here. Princes Street's the first street of the New Town. But Robert Louis lived 3-4 blocks north of that towards the sea. And he once carried on his head, all the way from his house in the New Town, all the way up here, an armchair for Henley to sit on by his bed. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but we're not talking IKEA here. We're talking Victorian.
Yes.
Victorian armchairs were as much as a truck. Stevenson was like a matchstick. But the real literary connection here is that Henley became Stevenson's inspiration for Long John Silver and Treasure Island. So this is effectively the birthplace of fiction's most famous pirates. And Henley gets out of his hospital after those 2 years. He came back to Edinburgh a few years later to edit a magazine. And by then, he had a little daughter, aged about 2. And as I say, he knew everybody in Edinburgh. And then he was big pals with J.M. Barrie, you know, Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie. And every time Barrie would come to his house, which was often, he would always open the door to Barrie, and he would always say, "Welcome, friend." But this little girl, she couldn't say friend. She would say "Friend" or "Friendy." And this is where Barrie picked up the inspiration for Wendy.
Oh.
Because before Peter Pan, the name Wendy didn't exist. Barrie invented the name. Marks the spot of a bookstore that stood here from 1959 to 1967. Run by an American guy called Jim Haynes from Louisiana. Probably the most memorable thing that happened in Jim's bookstore in 1960. This old lady comes into the bookshop and she says to Jim, "Do you have a copy of Lady Chatterton's Lover?" "Yes, I do." "So, you sell the book?" she buys the book, but she doesn't take it. She says to Jim, I'll come back to this later. And Jim's suspicious. So he phones up a photographer pal and says, look, I think you should come down here. I think something's going to happen. So his pal comes down with a camera. The old lady returns a few hours later. She comes into the bookstore and she picks up the copy of Lady Chatterley with a pair of coal tongs. And she carries it out of the shop like this. She puts it on a low wall that stood here, pours petrol over it, she sets it on fire, and she starts ranting at this book. Jim's pal shoots the picture, burning book, ranting old lady, Jim outside the bookstore, and of course the vinyl hit. And this picture went all over the world. Every newspaper in the world published this picture because it was a fabulous picture. And the sales of Lady Chatterley went through the roof.
So that tour was actually really informative, and I'm really glad that we decided to do that one because we just got a lot of information that I feel like we wouldn't have found out doing just the regular city tour. And now we're in this graveyard, which is really sick. I love this. Ooh. Okay, so this seems to be like lawyers because they're all Esquire. So the lawyers get the special treatment over here in the wall. And then everybody else gets grass. I would spend all day in a graveyard if I possibly could. All night too. Everybody thinks that that's super creepy, but I think that it's amazing. Me and Rebekah have similar aesthetics. She thinks it's cool too, but I don't know. There's a lot of history and a lot of stories that come through graveyards, and if you believe in spirits, then it's a pretty cool place to be. Especially old ones like this. We are currently in Glasgow Central, I think that's right. After a really long train ride that was a little bit confusing because we don't know how British trains work. And apparently we didn't need to come down here to go to London, but it's okay, we didn't know. Yeah, and
there was a train leaving to Euston Station.
I know, but it's not your fault. You didn't know. And we're on the train to London, finally. And hooray, they have food, but more importantly, they have wine. Look, there's a rainbow in the English? The big side in England? Yes. Countryside. Yeah. Flagged.
I can do it again. Hi, we're gonna play the Wales game. I'm going to spell a name of a town in Wales, and drunk Dana's going to try to pronounce it. Okay, ready?
Yeah. Ready.
We're gonna start kind of easy.
Okay.
B-R-Y-N-A-M-M-A-N.
Brahmanan.
Phenomenon.
Do-do-do-do-do.
P-E-N-R-H-Y-N hyphen G-W-Y-R.
Penrygr.
C-W-M-B-R-A-N.
Quimburn. I forgot the last three letters.
Okay.
So I just made it up.
EWLL.
Break.
What even is
L-I.
this?
It's Welsh.
Hey vloggy vlog, it has been a long day of traveling, but we're here in Shoreditch and drinking, as Jeff so kindly reminded you. Last time you saw us, we were on our third bottle of wine. Anyways, no judgment. It was a 5-hour train ride, who cares? We're in Shoreditch, London, and the nightlife seems pretty cool. There's lights outside and shit.
That's about it.
No, I mean there's a lot of noise, so I feel like the nightlife is pretty good. But we're gonna call it a day for today. Tomorrow is nice because we don't really have a schedule, which is awesome. Hit like, hit subscribe if you like me. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Goodbye. Au revoir.